wanted to get myself hurt or killed, but I wanted to protect others from getting hurt or killed by destroying the enemy or giving my life in pursuit of glory. 2007 was filled with the growing frustration of being behind a desk while others went to war to fight. In describing my frustration to others, they are quick to ask me, well, why did you go to the Air Force, aka the Chair Force? Every service sees military combat in their own way, and the Air Force was no different. From spotting that F-16 in the Bronx above my street, my fate was set, and so, stayed my desire to fight and be a part of history through the dominance of air power. I knew there were opportunities for me to get into the fight in the greatest air force in the world. Before I joined the Air Force as a loadmaster, then as a logistics planner, I had dreams of becoming a member of Special Operations. Particularly, I wanted to join the Air Force as a combat controller, CCT. My recruiter, Technical Sergeant Ortiz, noticed my physical conditioning status when I was awaiting training in the Delayed Entry Program, DEP. He asked me in normal day-to-day conversation if I knew anything about Special Operations. I didn't even know that the Air Force had Special Ops, which the Air Force refers to this group as Special Tactics. I thought that capability only existed in the Navy and Army. He gave me a small brochure, which provided the basics of the role and responsibilities. I was hooked just on the information in the brochure alone. A combat controller's main mission is to secure airfields and provide combat air traffic control at the assault zone for follow-on forces. CCTs are the military descendants of the Army's Pathfinders in World War II. Pathfinders set up the initial drop zones for the paratroopers of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Division during the Normandy invasion on D-Day. CCTs are the Air Force's top-tier operators, who most certainly would be involved with some of the most daring and historical missions during the global war on terror. I needed in. I trained as hard as I could, running push-ups, pull-ups, strength training using the city as my gym and utilizing community fitness centers. For me to even have a shot at being accepted to training, I had to pass the Physical Abilities and Stamina Test, PAST. The pass consisted of a 500-meter swim, 8 pull-ups, 53 sit-ups, 58 push-ups, and a 25-meter underwater swim. All the events had to be completed in a particular order with strict times allowed for rest in between each event. As fit as I was as a teenager, I was not ready for this test at all. In fact, it was the worst physical failure of my life at the time, and a very funny story to tell others in the future. I swear my New York City confidence continued to show its ugly head at the wrong times, which enabled me to assume I could accomplish anything. Why wouldn't I assume I could swim 500 meters without practicing once? I've been swimming at the beach and breaking into public pools since I was 7 years old. Swimming by myself was an activity I can do with ease. I got this right. Swimming was and is still not a subjective event. It takes practice, skills, and commitment to ensure efficiency in the water. You either can do it or you can't swim at all. So when it was time for me to take the first event was swimming for the 500-meter requirement. I even went to the damn Speedo store and bought a tight-ass Speedo, which I thought would reduce my drag in the water for maximum efficiency. Again, I had no practice or any technical training on the mechanics of proper swim techniques. Didn't matter, I was 18, hungry, and still mad as hell about September 11th. I strapped on my ridiculous-looking/feeling Speedo, got in the car with the recruiter, after a 2-hour drive to Fort Dix, New Jersey to use the pool. It's on. I was ready to prove myself ready for training, and prepared to jump in the pool when told to do so. My recruiter was at the ready with the timer to count my laps, and record my time for test compliance. I stood at the edge of the pool ready to start. My heart was pounding as the whole event was 100% nerve-wracking. Here goes everything, ready, set, go. I push off the wall and begin my swim with the worst swim technique you can imagine. You know the technique, the one where your head is above water the whole time, so you can see what's in front of you. Combined with the terrible form and my overall nervousness, I swam a total of 75 meters before I stopped from pure exhausting. Stopping during any portion of the pass kills the entire test. I was done and failed my fist pass. Even after that embarrassing failure, becoming a CCT member was always still a dream of mine, and I absolutely looked up to those who performed that brave mission. 2007 was also a joyous year for me, because my first child was born in the Bronx, New York. Jaden Gonzalez changed my life forever because now, I am not only responsible for my actions, but his as well. I thanked my girlfriend Catherine, who is now my loving wife, for giving me the gift of fatherhood. With my new family and my internal conflicts about my place in this world of war, I made the decision to change my Air Force job from a logistics planner into anything that would get me into the war before it ended, which is ironic because as I write this, men and women are still fighting. I looked at the list of career options offered to me, knowing that I wanted to optimize my chances of choosing a career that will provide me the opportunity to fight or directly support the war effort. I chose careers from the critical shortage list as they were undermanned and needed to be filled with bodies as soon as possible. Out of the critical shortage list, I ensured I selected jobs that would send me directly to combat by conducting some research beforehand. I narrowed my selection to 3 Air Force careers: flight engineer, aerial gunner, and special investigations. Since my physical standards were not ready to take and pass a PAST, I did not choose any special ops careers such as pararescue, combat control, special ops weather, or tactical air control TACP. Flight engineers and aerial gunners both would have placed me on combat aircraft such as the AC-130, the HH-60, MH-53, or the MC-130. Special investigations, on the other hand, was always another career I wanted based on my childhood aspirations of being in law enforcement. The selection process for Special Investigations, aka OSI, was a little different than the normal Air Force Specialty Code, AFSC change process. Simply put, I chose the aerial gunner career field because it offered the best chance for me to see combat, as all the aircraft that aerial gunners operated were combat aircraft, AC-130, HH-60, MH-53. Selecting the flight engineer career field may have placed me on combat support aircraft such as the C-5, C-130, E-3 or E-4 aircraft, which were never a viable option for me. Excited towards my prospects, I submitted my package as soon as I was able to, and got an approval for aerial gunner training, which started in 1 year. I was so happy and saw the amazing people, places, and missions I will experience flash before my eyes and enter my dreams as I slept. But with the new approval comes more changes for me and my new family. I would be starting a new transition from one career to another. I will go from a support role to the supported role, and lastly, I will train for combat, rather than sending others to it in my stead. Changes were coming again, and me and my new family were headed straight for it. I re-enlisted for another 6 years in the U.S. Air Force to support my new family and my new career as an aerial gunner. This career choice was a no-brainer for me, because I have always been fascinated with the bravery it took for those men and women to fight during World War II during the air campaign over Europe. My highest admiration went to the aircrews of the B-17 Flying Fortress bomber aircraft that were flown over occupied Europe. This 4-engine aircraft had 10 crew positions: pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, flight engineer, radio operator, and 4 aerial gunners. Being enlisted in the military is considered the tougher part of military service because the enlisted men and women executed the tasks and orders of the officers. We are called the backbone of the military because without the enlisted force, the military would not be able to support itself to stand up and fight. For the crews of the B-17 and their respective positions, it was true that the officers did the flying, but the enlisted did the fighting in the air. Knowing that every mission you launched may either be an easy milk run, or the hardest fight you'll ever experience took balls and guts not seen ever before in history. I looked up to the legacy of aerial gunners, and was proud and satisfied with my career choice, for I would become a rich part of history that made a difference on the battlefield to win our nation's wars. While I prepared to begin my training, which was less than 60 days away, we, the Gonzalez family, must move out of our house on Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. Me and my wife, well, mostly me, packed our things in storage, and her and our son head back to New York City to stay with our family while I complete training. Training to be an aerial gunner took several courses within its pipeline. The first course was Aircrew Fundamentals. Yup, I'm back in fundamentals again. This time I have no desire to quit, as I have chosen a combat-oriented career in the air, with a rich history of victory. The next course after successful completion of fundamentals was the Aerial Gunner Apprentice course. This course teaches the students about aerial gunner history, aircraft introduction, basic aircraft systems, weapons system operations, defensive systems, and emergency procedures associated with the MH-53, HH-60, and AC-130 weapon systems. I almost didn't